The 60s brought us that Motown thing, while the 70s blew our funkin' minds, G. They hit it on the one, baby. But it was something very special about the 80s. I mean, the 80s had it all. Pop, punk, funk, rock, soul. And then came one of the most influential styles of music known to man. Hip-hop, boy. That's right. Hip-hop birthed greats like Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, to LL Cool J, Run DMC, Eric B. Rakim, and many more. Oh, and let's not forget the prolifical Hall of Famers, Public Enemy. That's right, the 80s had it poppin'. The 80s was the place to be. Everything was popcorn love. Speaking of popcorn, New Edition had just hit the scene out of Boston, which gave hope to young cats in the ghettos all over the world. And one place in particular, Cincinnati, Ohio. This T.ROB, and this is a story about 5 young men who started something so powerful that top music execs were bidding over them. Cities were buzzing about them. They turned A-list artists into fans and got the record deal they so desired. But little did they know, the triumph brought defeat. This is T.ROB, and I present to you T.ROB, The Quiet Journey, a Cold Premiere story. We just wanted the world to see Cold Premiere, man.
I think I remember the first time I was involved with them was in the late 80s, and there was a Kool Moe Dee concert down at the Allison's West End Theater. And at that Allison's West End Theater, they performed and they came on before Kool Moe Dee, and that was along with DJ Fresh.
I met T.ROB, I say around back in 1989, and how I met him was I was DJing for an artist, Daniel, and we had dancers, and the dancers had actually brought T.ROB and Ted, Tiny Day, to our situation for Daniel to have some background singers, and they were called Fellas at the time. Chris, one of the singers in the group, he brought Tiny Day, who was Ted, and T.ROB, and Daniel. And then Daniel said, well, I'm going to use these guys as my background singers. And then we had Chris, Shane, and DJ were the dancers.
When everybody else kind of fell off, me and T.ROB, we became two of a kind. That was a dope era because it was he and I rocking songs. We you know what's crazy about that? We were the original remixers for the Natty during that time. That was before Diddy. That was before Diddy doing that shit. We probably didn't even know what we was doing, man. We was always ahead of our time. So T.ROB comes in with this idea of us like performing out as two of a kind. And we got these like blue MVP suede outfits with MVP on the back. And I remember our first show we did, we opened up at the Allison Theater for Kool Moe Dee. LL was there too. We became Big Daniel's singers. Cold Crush was Big Daniel's dancers. You know, Fresh always had a plan, you know, putting shows together, you know, everywhere. You can always count on him for that, you know what I'm saying? We killed it, man. We killed it. We flipped Heavy D's Don't You Know over the Deals to Occasion. And people was looking at us like, they was tripping, man, you know what I'm saying? That shit back then, it was like 17, man. Like 16, 17, you know, flipping over there, you know.
Me and Chris, we was loners, man. Me and Chris, we had Keith. Keith was our mentor, you know. He did all the choreography, he did everything. When Keith left, it was just me and Chris. We didn't have no other friends. My whole life was me, Chris, and Troy. Troy came in after the fact. But other than that, me and Chris were like, if we let you in our world, we let you in. If we didn't know you. So when Tony came in, you know, it was like, okay, he had to have something that was special for us to let us be underneath him. Because in our world, we was Cold Crush. we would smash everybody. Everybody knew our name. Wasn't nobody better than us in our head. And I'm not bragging, but they knew who we were. So we didn't need nothing.
Man, you know, we grew up near the same neighborhood, so we always saw each other in passing. But I think it officially went down around 89, 90, somewhere around there. And I was performing, you know, we was young. He had just connected and created co-career with Chris and Shane and them. They came from the dance group. And I was out there. I went solo at the time. And I was working with this guy named Fresh. Fresh actually managed co-career at one point, and he also managed me as well. So I'm hanging with Fresh. And we was at a show at the convention center downtown, and I was rocking and doing my thing. I wasn't even supposed to perform then. I think they performed or something, but they let me come up there and freestyle, this, that, and the other. And I guess afterwards, T.ROB was like, man, I like the fire you got, man, the way you perform. You perform like you own the stage, you know what I'm saying? And that's how we are, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, we just realized, okay, you know what I'm saying? It's like we alike, so we connected.
Because what they brought to the table, nobody really had done, especially the type of dance that they were doing. Because the dance group itself was extraordinary. So T.ROB put them all together. And by the time found out they could sing too, it worked out well. The show was extraordinary.
Because we looked up to him. That was the livest shit we'd ever seen at that time. Like, we had just started, so we was pretty much amateurs. And they were just running the city with that.
We did a lot of shows and stuff like that. We did a lot of showcasing here in Cincinnati. We should have been getting paid for what we were doing. You know, the industry.
When co-premiere came together like that, and that being the end of T.ROB and I being group members, that was different for me. I was like, okay, I got to figure this one out on my own. You know, I got to push myself. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, you as an artist, as a creative, a writer, producer, whatever, dancer, singer, whatever you do, rap, you can only push yourself so far as what you can see. But creatives don't always necessarily know how to see past the fixed point. So they take themselves so far, and then they reach a point where they're just going in a circle. When you got two people that's pushing each other in ways that they couldn't push themselves individually, you're bringing out the best in each other, which creates a balance. The separation was like, okay, I don't have that no more. And at first I was like, oh shit, good, man. That nigga was on me too much, man. I ain't like that, man, you know. I'm getting too lax, you know. I'm too out the way. You know what I mean? Tony was always on the front line, always in the forefront of it, seeing what he could see. He's always like little eagle-eyed, eager. That was some real shit. That was the wake-up call right there.
We just thought it would be cool to sell some records and do this and take it to another level.
T.ROB, Marcus, James, Chris, and Shane opened up like down at the Coliseum, Music Hall, Convention Center. Yeah. We opened up for Troop. It was a New Year's Eve dash down at the Coliseum. It was like, I mean, they made us feel like we were really stars, you know. Yeah. It was a lot. I mean, it was, you know, we're looking out to the crowd like, wow, look at all these people, you know. And they treated us like, you know, we got to pull in the back like with all the other stars that's performed there, you know, we pulling in the back, and you know, we just like felt like we were, you know, like we had made it, you know.
Late 80s is when it kind of came alive a little bit more, in my opinion. And there was what I felt like was a lot of camaraderie, a lot of groups kind of intertwined and working with each other. And co-premier stood out in that they were in that new edition kind of, or true kind of bracket. They fit within those kind of categories. In my opinion, they were kind of unlike some of the groups that we had here.
And they used to rehearse long and hard, man. You know, one thing I did respect about T.ROB was the fact that he believed that he was just as big as any group that was already on TV. You know, and our dream was always to make it, but you know, it's like you don't have to be on the level of a New Edition or LL Cool J to have this type of a show. You go hard. You know, that back then we was on that go hard and go home. You know what I'm saying? Long before cats were talking that now. So it was just one of that. It was that type of spirit, man. It just created that bond with us. Well, first of all, it was their work ethic. They worked hard. They believed in what they were doing, like as if they already had millions behind it. That's how they went hard. It was, and one of the things that I respected about it, they had a spiritual foundation. They prayed before they went into rehearsing. They prayed before they went and jogged and ran, because they would run before they would go into rehearsing dance moves. You know, and that was one of the things that was inspiring to me. Like, wow, you know, these cats don't just have a group; they have a movement.
First of all, what made us dynamic is we were the best from each other groups that we were with, because we were all from different groups at first. We were Tony was with a group called the Fellas. I was the best in my group that I had, and Marcus was with a group. I think his group was called the Fellas too. I think, I'm not sure. And Shane and Chris was in a group called Cold Crush. So we were all in separate groups, and we were the best from those groups. And Tony decided, like he's been doing all these years, to put everybody together, and that's pretty much how CP came together. It was we was the best from the different groups that we were with, and we were the ones in the groups that was like, we were gonna do this for a living. We wanted to do this for a living. We had all been doing music for a long time, and dancing. And Shane and Chris had been dancing and whatnot. And me and Tony had been singing and trying to be in these new edition-esque type groups. And we just decided to come together.
Where the Fellas, which Tony was in a group called the Fellas with Tez, and I can't remember all the rest of the guys that was in this group. And they sang, and they got almost like the same response that we got. We got up there and we danced. Me, Chris, Keith, you know, floor rockers, and it was crazy. But we got up and did our thing, and we realized the impact that we had individually, and we was like, imagine what we could do together. And if we did something together, that means we could put records out. If you could put records out, that means you could sell something. If you could sell something, you make money. And record labels want people that can sell a product. You got to be able to sell a product. So we, you know, took it upon ourselves to say, we dance, y'all sing, let's put it together and see what we got. And then that's when the group called Premier formed. But that's how we got together. You know, we just decided to do something that was going to impact the world bigger than dance would. And we both the groups had something to offer, and we put it together. And I tell you now, there still hasn't been a group that could touch us. I've been living out in California for years, and I've seen the groups come and go. I've seen people that never came out who thought they was about to change the game. And I work with them. I be looking at them, I was like, y'all still can't touch what we had back in the day. Like, the chemistry of it is just that they cannot touch it. So, but that's how it all came together.
Tony had a group called the Fellas, and then me and Shane had a group called Cold Crush. So the whole deal was, Cold Crush, we were just dancers. We were straight up. I'm talking about, we went through so many seasons with our dance group. We will teach you guys how to sing, how to do harmonies and all that. You guys teach us how to dance. That right there, that was our identity. But yes, we did go through different seasons of questioning that, wondering if this is what we want to do, this is how we want to do it. And when we realized that was our secret sauce, like the dancing that we do combined with the singing, it just opened up so many doors, right? It changed everything.
We killed them, man, because
that's when I knew myself, the chemistry was there.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, when the music started and the intro started, boom, we came out of that box. And it was like, this shocked everybody. It was like, so, because that box was sitting there for a while. We had them bring it out there just like an act before we came on. So we just, while the other act was on stage performing, we sitting in the background in this box. And man, we was in there arguing because we was almost sliding out. And from that point on, like, we knew, like, oh yeah, we got something, man. Like, we got something. And we never let up. From that point on, we just went extremely hard.
That was the thing that impressed me most about Cold Premier, and they truly formed like Voltron. They truly formed like Voltron just based on who was the leader. They was all leaders within their own way. You know what I'm saying? You had J.Y. you had Marcus Stokes, Shane Sparks, and Chris. All the man, those dudes have fire in them. Because Chris and Shane already have fire in them anyway, just as a dance group, as Cold. Nah, it was, man, they just had that fire in them, and it actually inspired me, lit a fire under me to take my game to the next level, even though, he was respecting me based on what I was doing. He said I inspired him as well, we inspired each other, man, and they just had that thing, and man, I like these dudes. We just became close. I guess sometimes they would say, yo, you know, Taquan became the sixth member of Cole Premier, you know. But yeah, man, they definitely went hard, man, with the dance moves that they did. I would put them up against New Edition and Troop any day. You know what I mean? I mean, fire, because they was doing dance routines that a lot of singing groups ain't even supposed to be doing.
My name is Kipper Jones. I'm a singer, songwriter, activist guy. I first met the cats from Cole Premier I call them kids in Cole Premier. They were kids. This was 1986, 87. I think we were on the road in Cincinnati, and we played at a club called Bogarts. And they were there. The kids came, and they came on our bus. I remember Chris and Shane coming on the bus. And they were, what do we have to do, to get on? And we just want to, we got our act to be great. So no sooner than I said that to them, I guess it was probably, 6, 7, 8 months later, I get a call. Yo, Kip, what you doing? And I'm like, I'm chilling. We're at the bus station. I'm like, dude, okay, the bus station. Where? Here? Yeah, they came to LA from Cincinnati. They said that's what they were going to do, and that's what they did.
There was a guy named Kipper Jones, and Kipper, super producer, great vocalist. He invited us into his house. It was just a blessing.
All right, we was touring around the tri-state area. Like, it was DJ Fresh. Fresh was the DJ. Danny O was the rapper. Chris and Shane was the dancers. And me and Tez was the singers. So we had like a little, we had a whole stage show. And we was doing places like Akron, Cleveland. We was opening up for people like UTFO. While we was doing these shows, me and Chris used to talk a lot. Chris was basically spokesman for for Cold Crush, and I was a spokesman for Two of a Kind. At that time, that's when me and Tez was calling each other, Two of a Kind. So me and Chris used to talk all the time when we was traveling. Yeah, we was talking all the time about, man, you know what? I used to tell him, Chris, y'all so cold at dancing. I was like, but what's gonna happen, man, when don't nobody want to hire y'all to do no work with them? Or what if y'all can't find a rapper that y'all can get on tour with her? Y'all limiting y'allself. But if y'all learn how to sing, imagine with y'all dancing and being able to sing, how effective that could be. And we talked about it over the period of time, and eventually we was like, okay, in order for us to do this concept, we're going to have to quit doing these shows with Freshmen. As much as we wanted to, but it was live. It was some real nice shows we was doing. But we knew in order to transition into where we were trying to go and where we were going to become, we had to keep some things, you got to let some go. So in that case, we had to let that whole tour thing go. And it was kind of hard because nobody had tours for us. We was local acts. So for us to get booked on shows like that, and we was traveling in and out of town, that was a hard thing to walk away from, but we had a vision.
I've been in the entertainment business for about pretty close to about 30 years. I've done everything from management to production. About the last 10 or 12 years, I've worked as an estate manager with Eddie Murphy. I've worked with Pointer Sisters doing management. I worked with Johnny Gill, and currently I work with Sugar Ray Leonard, kind of as an executive assistant. I had a recording studio in Hawaii, and I was working with some local acts in Hawaii. And a friend of mine by the name of Stacy Strickland came and told me about this group. He said, man, I was in Cincinnati for a couple of days and I met this amazing group. And he described the group as 5 MC Hammers that could sing. And I was like, wow. I said, that's impossible. So he said, yeah, you got to check them out. He said, if you get an opportunity, go to Cincinnati and check this group out. It'd be well worth your while. So I decided to fly over to Cincinnati and see the group. And went to Cincinnati, met Tony. Actually talked to him on the phone first, but went to Cincinnati and met the group. And they told me they had been involved with some negotiations with some managers and stuff. And I put in my bid to work with them. I thought they were the most phenomenal group I had ever seen. Tony was basically kind of the forefront, the leadership of the group, and I kind of felt that I could have a good relationship with him, and I was actually, getting into management. And I just saw an interest there that I just couldn't walk away from. We built this nice little recording studio in the bottom of one of his properties, and when we got finished, I had a conversation with my partner Seal that we need to put together around the town talent show. And I think the first, thing that I liked that came through there, first talent that I liked came through there, and started working on some material for them to see if we get things going. This is how I ran into Tony, and well, this is where I guess I don't know if they was co-premier at the time, because when they came out and performed, all of the acts that I looked at, I wasn't too much turned on by a lot of the groups that was there at the show. But when Tony and them performed, there was like a dance group behind this. What was really getting the crowd off was the dancers in the background. I don't know about the rapper, but them 5 dancers in the background was like tearing it up. So.
Sure. Everything they win, they won. Every contest, they won by the contest.
After the show, I went to look for him, and I found him in the crowd. I said, look, I want y'all to come to my production studio tomorrow. I want to see if y'all can sing with that dancing, And they came down, we got to know each other, and I started to listen to their voices and things like that. I let them hear some stuff. We decided to go ahead and work on them as a singing group.
We grew up together, and everybody had different crews as far as singing crews, rap crews. Back in the days, everybody wanted to be in the business. It was fairly new to Cincinnati as far as our generation is concerned, so as far as on the R&B tip, it was a few fruit crews and T.ROB and crews being one of the main ones to spearhead it. As far as the R&B is concerned, they was the first ones to
same time. So he was signed already to a label when we were trying to get signed. So, they were doing shows and we would see video tapes of them performance. And we actually did a couple shows together, man. We would see, man, them guys would make a house and fly over top of it. It was like acrobatics, man. You just wouldn't imagine some guys from the streets coming across on stage. Like, only thing they was missing was bombs and firecrackers and shit, you know, things like that, man. But almost definitely ahead of their time, man. Definitely ahead of their time.
It was probably around 1987. You know what I mean? I was a little fresh teenager and whatnot, and I had hooked up with some friends of mine, Chris and Shane, and actually, unbeknownst to me at the time, but my sister was actually dating Tony T.ROB back in the day. So I came about his name through mutual friends, and then we actually met each other probably late in the summer of '87. Met him, you know, the first thing that I noticed was this is a businessman. This is an entrepreneur. This man has, you know, some type of gift, some type of knack for pushing and promoting whatever he's responsible for, right? So that was the first vibe I got from him. Then come to find out that he was in the business. And, you know, the brother's like a beacon, man. You know what I mean? He definitely has that attraction quality that pulls people to him no matter what the situation is, you know. And really he's an accreditation to the mouthpiece, you know, giving the hood examples of, you know, he got game, you know what I mean? He can spit, he can talk, he can, you know, he can promote and push himself through any situation, in any situation, and represent himself like he needs to. You know, that was the biggest thing that I got out of, you know, meeting and learning and spending time with him.
T.ROB and Fresh and Drac and all of them, those are my OGs. So the thing with them is so pinnacle, like with T.ROB, like I said, it was a dancing city. So with Cold Crush, that was the livest shit we had ever seen. And at that time, we was killing everything. That's because that's after the Cold Crush and the Cold Premiere. They were gone. So they left kind of a lane for us to get in. We was pretty much amateurs when they was just running the city with that. So it was kind of more or less a big brother, little brother thing, like us. We looked up to them. You know, it's kind of different these days. It seems like the young cats kind of look down on the older cats, which is kind of, that's the disconnect. But with us, we was more or less like, damn, I want to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, man, I was like, and I told him the story. I said, we was at a club like downtown Cincinnati, and we got there early, so we dancing all night. We doing our best routine. And it just seemed like when they showed up, it seemed like the light cut off where we was at. It just seemed like you could feel the whole momentum shift. And I'm like, well, damn, they was rocking with us all night up until that point. But it was good to see them in close quarters. Like, it wasn't at a show on stage. Like, we in the club, and to see that, it made us think like, yeah, we gotta get a little better than this.
I was with them everywhere they pretty much went.
Actually, today would have thought was really too soon for them to come to Los Angeles. But I just remember the excitement. I remember meeting them at the airport and them actually not having any luggage. They just had all their clothes in plastic bags. And, I mean, but they were ready. They were ready for LA. They was ready to come here and get busy. And they came here to get a record deal. And I had made a promise to them that if they kept the work ethic that they had and the belief in themselves and continued to, you know, be humble about their talent, that we would have to deal with in a couple of months. There was a hungriness in their eyes when I first met them. I knew they could do it. I knew that they could do more than they knew that they could do. And I tried to infuse that with some of my motivation as well.
Actually, like striking, they were boycotting. I believe, you know, the drivers wanted more money or something like that, but there was a picket line that we had to go through. And I was scared to death. I was like, you will get whooped trying to get up in there. But you know what? That was the thing that was standing between our destiny and us getting there. And you know what? I was like, hey, I'm willing to take a chance. You talking about high school dude ain't never been nowhere, right? But seeing that going to LA was the dream, oh, we're going through that picket line, bro. We are going through that picket line. And I'm so glad we did.
Tune in to the next episode of T.ROB, The Quiet Giant, a co-premiere story.
Artlist.io.
Next week on T.ROB, The Quiet Giant, a co-premiere story.
They was one of the best dancing groups I've ever seen. They was doing things that cats are doing now. I mean, Tony's his own guy, so I wouldn't compare him to anybody. Tony's a hustler.
They were stepping, to me, harder than New Edition.
Through them while they were doing the pursuit of the
of the dream, so to speak.
Being on the show Big Break, and at that time they were awesome, man. They danced like crazy. The choreography was like, it kind of reminded me a lot of us. You know, they were in sync. They were all together, and they were moving all over the stage, but together as a group. You know, you don't really get that a lot.
This documentary is brought to you by Legendtainment.